So I just want to preface this. Hi, I'm Mike Meeple. This is me. Unscripted, just kind of talking off the cuff. Wanted to give a quick little intro for something that it just kind of came together. So me and Chase from On the Table Gaming were talking, and he told me that Fabio Curry wanted to paint with me. And I mean, when Fabio Curry, the lead developer of one of your favorite games, A Song of Ice and Fire, says, hey, let's paint and let's create some content, you kind of figure out some way of doing that, right? So we got together for an hour and we just kind of Skyped and painted and chatted about things, and we decided that we were going to put it up, and that's what you guys are about to see. So hopefully you guys like it. If not, let me know. If you do like it, please let me know as well. Try to like and subscribe to my YouTube. We're going to be doing similar stuff like this. Hopefully, if this went well and you guys thought it was kind of fun to sit and listen to us kind of trade war stories. Please subscribe. Visit the Patreon, visit the blog. Patreon's only $1 a month, helps me do cool stuff like this. And heck, maybe next time I'll get some other guests on, and we can do some more live paints. Okay. Until then, hope you enjoy our conversation with Mike Meeple and Fabio Curry, lead developer of A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, so Fabio, I figure we just kind of walk through a little bit of it, chat a little, go over. Obviously, I don't do video content, so this is completely different for me and for all of my viewers. So it's going to be a little bit of a learning experience. None of this is scripted. It's just me and Fabio just kind of having a good time painting some Night's Watch. I'm going to angle my laptop down so you guys can kind of see what my hands are doing, and then me and Fabio are going to be doing a little step-by-step of things that we are doing and things that we are working on in order to get them painted up. And, you know, Chase would appreciate this, on the table, right? So, okay, so let me show you what we're working with. I've got all 4 of the Sworn Bros models, including the Night's Watch Captain, right there, but they all get painted up pretty much the same way. I always start by doing a 50-50 mix of black and white, but for today I'm going to be taking the cheater method and using some German gray from Vallejo, because it's really easy. Just get a little bit on the palette, and then mix it up with a little bit of water. And what we're going to be doing here is we're actually just going to be painting the outside of some of the models just to get it straight from the black. You know, these guys have already been primed black, but we're trying to get it looking a little different so that there's some depth to this, you know, get some pre-highlights. So I always start with the outside of the cloaks on these models. Okay, and just paint those. Maybe paint some of their kilts and maybe their gloves. You know, things that are going to be catching the light. So for this guy, it's going to be right around there, sort of a thing. Just something like that. It's not a big difference, but it's enough where it's going to make it a little bit more interesting than just pure black. So you can, Fabio, if you want, you can go ahead and start doing that.
Yeah, I was just mixing my paints here. I'm actually just going to follow suit.
Sure. So Fabio, how long have you been working for Simon?
I've been there almost over a year and a half now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's still pretty recent,
Mm-hmm.
and I was hired to care for specifically the Song of Ice and Fire project as a
Oh,
developer.
so this is your baby.
Yeah, this is my baby. I think I got really involved in the project as well, and I'm enjoying every step. Like, I guess it's great having a really good team backing you up as well. Like, not just Michael Chanel, but like the whole production team and everyone from the graphic design. You know, like everyone works together really well, and I guess that really helps, like, making a good project.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I've been really impressed with the minis. I mean, those of you who kind of anyone who kind of follows my blog, um, kind of knows that this is really the first mini game that I've really been on. I talked about how I used to do hero clicks back in the day. But man, those is nothing like that. I don't know. Do you guys still have? Did you guys get hero clicks down there in Brazil?
Uh, yeah, actually, we played HeroClix here, but I guess like the competitive scene was probably non-existent, but I do remember playing it like when I was younger, like way back when. But we
Yeah,
didn't paint them, and we used to think the paint jobs were like amazing. Like, wow, look at these miniatures.
I know they're so terrible now. Like I look back and I'm like, what is wrong with Cyclops' face? He looks like he looks like he's seriously got issues. Like he's constipated. It's horrible. But you know, back in the day, that's all I had. That's all I knew. But now this game is really kind of opened up because even before this game, in between Hero Clicks and this, I was really into the board games. So stuff like Zombicide, your more Simon games, Zombicide and what's it called? What was another one that I was really into? Uh, the Wild West one, Shadows of Brimstone, by Flying
Mhm.
Frog. That one was awesome.
Yeah, so I think one of my favorite board games, and honestly, this is not me like, can I swear?
Sure. If worst comes to worst, I'll you know I don't know. I have no. I've this is my first YouTube video, so go for it.
I'll keep it mild, but like honestly, this is not me like kissing ass or anything. I fell in love with board games by playing Blood Rage, and I was like, wow, this has
Oh,
so much depth. Sorry, you said something?
no, 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 no. Go for it.
Also, do you paint the little furry parts? Like, I'm trying to get the gray
I
here,
mean,
like almost like the highlight, but what do you do with the furry bits?
so for the fur, I actually leave that for now. Right now, I'm just. We will be going over the fur, but I mean, it just kind of depends on what color you want the fur. So for me, I typically want the fur to be like a gray. But if you want it to be black fur, then yeah, you would paint the fur right now. Um, but I usually do a gray fur with a brown wash to make it look nice and weathered.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, and see,
And you used to paint all your board game miniatures.
I would try. I would try. I've been painting for about not that long, actually. About 3 years now. So I've got about 3 years worth of experience of doing this. But and as I was doing it, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of a color difference between the cloak and some of the other gray stuff. It just looks a little lighter, just a hair lighter. Um, and we're gonna kind of let those sit and dry for a little bit before we move on to the next part. Um, but yeah, I was I did a lot of the Zombicide stuff. I did Massive Darkness. Did what's it called? Stuffed Fables, which had some really different kinds of minis because they're all stuffed animals. But
They also have those little evil giant spiders like from Toy Story.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That one was fun to paint for me because it was so different than anything else that was out there. It's a good game. I recommend it if you get a chance to play it.
And then
how we
moved to like a Song of Ice and Fire, or did you ever try dabbling in other systems, like to paint
Yeah, well, I did Song of Ice and Fire because I saw the Kickstarter and I loved the IP, so I was like, let's do this. This looks awesome. And then all of a sudden, $150 later, I got this awesome package last July, and it was great. And I just started doing it up, and it's been really my first love in terms of painting and the gameplay. I recently got into Kill Team, the 40K Kill Team. That's a good system. I like that system a lot. But I hate the sprues, man. I can paint, but I can't put them together. Putting them together is a pain in my butt.
Yeah, I can figure. I enjoy doing a little bit of like conversion and green stuff, but like bare minimum.
Yes, like I will do the bare minimum, but it's so nice. That's what I love about your guys' game, is that it's just I'm gonna steal this from Ash Barker. You know, Ash Barker said this on Chase's on the Table podcast one time. He said that it passes the Christmas morning test, where you can get it Christmas morning and start playing it right then and there. And you can't do that with a lot of these other games. You can't do that with Kill Team. You can't do that with Legion. You know, you can do that with this game. You know, that's really about it. So that's been really, really awesome. So how we doing over there?
All right, yeah, I think I've done my grays.
Cool.
Yeah, they look a little bit like highlights, but
yeah, that's all we got to do for now. Next, I'm gonna take some of this nasty stuff from Target. This is some just regular gray, $2 for a giant bottle from Target. Okay, and I'm gonna do you do a dry brush on it. So do you know how to dry brush, Fabio?
Yeah, I'll follow suit as well. I'm just gonna get my nasty gray, and I'll be right.
Yeah, no problem.
A lighter shade, you would say.
Yeah, just like close to a standard gray. You know, this is something like that. Yeah,
too light. I don't know.
Then that's probably okay. That's probably okay. You'll just need to do the next bit with maybe a white instead of, because I go standard, what I call standard gray, and then a light gray. So this is going to be my standard gray, which is just a typical. This is called slate, a slate gray. So you can see here are the colors that I'll be working with. So it's a little different. You know, one is a little darker, and then this one's a little lighter. It's almost a white, but it's not quite. So, but we're going to start off with this one, the darker of the two, and we're just gonna dry brush. Just dry brush all over the mini, like that, to pick out some highlights.
All right,
and you can start to see that you can start to see everything a lot better.
I'll just pick up my brush.
Okay, you go do that, sir. And let me keep going with this.
There you go.
All right, awesome. So have you developed any other games other than A Song of Ice and Fire?
Well,
or was this your thing?
Sorry, actually I developed a couple of other games after I joined CMON. So I assisted in what's it called? I'm sorry, Death May Die, but I was not the lead developer
Oh
of that
yeah,
project
cool.
with the giant Cthulhu,
So that's
right?
uh-huh. That
And it
looked
was
really
a real
awesome.
learning process. Sorry?
No, nothing. I just said that looked really awesome. The giant mini and all that stuff. That all looked great.
Yeah, and it was really great to like work with a great team and learn a lot from them. That
Uh-huh.
definitely helped. I also developed Zombicide Invader,
Oh, okay.
and
I missed that one.
yeah, it's a fun game. I enjoyed developing it, and it has like a lot to offer. Like if you like Zombicide, you should definitely check it out. It brings some new mechanics,
Yeah. I like
and
the theme. I thought the theme was an interesting take.
yeah, zombie aliens, right? They're great.
Yeah.
But I think like the miniatures look amazing as well, and like Simon really learned how to like uh, do miniatures and cast miniatures after a while. You know, like if you compare them with the original, like the first edition Zombicide, you can actually see the improvements. And then even through like Song of Ice and Fire, if you compare like the newer waves to like the first ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I was talking with the On the Table guys a little bit about that it just seems like the Night's Watch and the Free Folk, those sculpts and all of them are so good. And not to say that any of the sculpts were particularly bad, except I will say there is one Stark Sworn Sword that I'm like, he has no face. It has got to be the worst sculpted face I've ever seen on a mass production mini ever. But other than that, like they all look great. And then they just got even better with Night's Watch and stuff like that. So you can see the Drybrush. It kind of gives it almost like a statue look, like a ghost look right here, and that's going to really help. It's going to do most of our work for us in terms of highlighting. So when we actually get to that highlight stage, we won't have to do much with the black.
Do you do that with every miniature you do? You always dry with light gray?
Not everyone. I do this with the Night's Watch specifically because it really gives it a little bit of a pop. And when you paint over a black primer with light colors like skin and stuff like that, it really has a hard time. It really has a hard time getting that skin color to look the right way. So if we do this nice dry brush with gray, it kind of helps lighten everything up to get the colors to look the right way for the skin. And again, the highlights, because this is just, we won't probably, if we get there, we probably won't even need to worry about actually adding any highlights after the wash phase. So that's the goal, at least. We'll see.
Wow. I hope not. I suck at highlights.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I kind of do all of this stuff for people who think that they kind of suck, because I honestly kind of suck. I'm not great. I was just listening to the On the Table podcast episode with James Wapple, and man, that guy, he's awesome. He's got just concepts and ideas and he's just on a next level.
Yeah, I've seen some of his work, and it really is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, but it's inspiring, right? You
But
see
yeah,
that, you want to try to do the same.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's awesome, but at the end of the day, I also think that's a lot of work. I'm kind of lazy. Um, so, you know, it is what it is. It's a trade-off. Everything's a trade-off. You can either do a lot of work and get a better result, or you can have a little bit of time left in your day. Because typically I'm doing this at like 10 o'clock at night after my 3-year-old's gone to sleep. My wife and I have already spent a little bit of time together watching TV, you know?
Yeah, like, we have lives, right? I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's you gotta take care of life first. All right. So once you're done dry brushing all that with your standard gray, take your lighter gray, or for you, if you've got just a light gray, you could use a white afterwards. And we're going to put another dry brush, but just on the top half. So just like the face, you know, anywhere where the light's going to hit. Something like that, just to make a little bit of a contrast to it. Not too much. Like the top of the cloak, the arm for the guy that's really freaking out and swinging his sword as hard as he can.
Yeah, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, just a little bit, you know, and it doesn't need to be a ton. It just gives it that little bit of illusion of highlight already, you know, where you can kind of see, oh, okay, so that's where the sun's hitting that miniature at that point.
And how often do you play, Mike?
And it is definitely. Excuse me?
Sorry, I think we spoke at the same time, and I didn't hear what you said.
No, I was just saying. What did you say? Did you ask how often I paint?
Yeah, you paint and also you play.
So I don't play that much, unfortunately. You can ask any of the guys in my play group, any of the guys in Fresno, that I don't actually get to play that much. But I try to paint a little bit every night, because that's how you get better. And we're all trying to get better. But yeah, I try to paint a little bit every night. I try to play as much as I can, at least once a month. But lately it's been more like every other month. So, okay, how we doing, Fabio? How we looking?
Yeah, this is my first guy. I'm almost halfway through the second. Wait.
Hey, that's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, like the white here on the cloak. It really did make a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm almost done through my second one.
Yeah, just a little bit of that dry brush can really help. So, then after that now is when we'd actually start working on the fur, after you've done all the dry brushing. So, so for me, I use just my regular gray here, my $2 gray from Target. I get that nice and thinned. So I have to ask Fabio, what faction are you? What do you play more often?
Right now I play non-disclosed more often.
Oh, you can't tell me what you play right now.
Just because it.
That's that. Oh, you heard it here, exclusive.
Just because, like, well, right now, like, we're ahead, right, and we need to get things done. But yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Like, with the things that are out, like, I enjoy most of it. Like, I usually don't stick to like the same faction for long. It's not that I get bored. I just like to challenge myself, and I think you have to be like holistic.
Sure.
As a player, yeah.
My big faction is the Night's Watch. Actually, I like their play style. I am very much so an attrition guy. I'm excited for Baratheons because I feel like they are going to be very similar to that. Like, I'm going to grind you down sort of a thing. But we'll see. I'm really excited for Targaryens, and I'm hoping that this undisclosed thing that you've been playing are the Martells. But that's just me. Hopefully we can read the look on your face to see what it is, but we'll see. Undisclosed.
But right now, sorry, are you just putting a layer over the fur? Is that it?
Yeah, just a layer of gray right over the fur, just like that. So.
All right.
Yeah. And whatever color you want the fur to be. You know, if you want the fur to be black, then you can leave it like that, and that'll be a good black fur because, you know, black bears and whatnot. But if you want it to be a brown, you can do it a brown. If you want it to be white, like they killed that zombie polar bear from the show, you know, then you could do that too. It just kind of depends on whatever you want. But just a nice, decent layer, not too thick, not too thin, where it's starting to actually show still see the detail. So Fabio, we were chatting on the Discord in terms of just trying to even get this set up, this whole thing set up in the first place. And you were talking to me that you were having some issues with paint, that you guys don't get a lot of high quality paints there. So, I mean, do you get, I mean, you had mentioned you don't really get Citadel line, and which is fine because I don't really use that much Citadel myself. But I mean, what kind of paints do you have? Just craft paints, or do you have like other stuff like Vallejo and maybe not Army Painter, because I think that's pretty much exclusively in the U.S.
Yeah, so like we get a lot of stuff that is, I couldn't properly say smuggled, but like people just bring, you know,
okay,
like, their bags, and then they sell it over here, like gray market stuff, let's say. And so we know Vallejo and Army Painter, and we have like some sort of access, but you have to like scalpel stuff and keep scouting for everything, you know, like, and it gets pretty expensive. Like you can end up paying like $8 a pot.
Sure.
Like I don't know.
Man, that's crazy.
Like I don't know how much that gets, like in like how much you guys pay. I estimate like $4 or something.
Yeah, you know, realistically, like something like this, which is Vallejo, is going to be about $3. You know, it shouldn't be more than $3. But some of the Citadel stuff gets really expensive, like $5 or $6, which is one of the reasons why I try to avoid that. You know, that's MSRP. So, but yeah, I can imagine that on the gray market, as you call it, it can get a little pricey.
But like, I guess when people travel as well, like friends and family, we're always like, man, can you just hook me up with a couple of paints? It won't take much space in your bag, you know. And people
yeah. That's good though. I mean, you know, I was just talking with because I had to miss a the last tournament. There was a tournament in town yesterday that I couldn't make in Fresno, and I had to miss it because I'm going to Disneyland this week with my wife and my child for our anniversary. Really exciting, but I got to get like the car maintenance done, got to get new tires, that sort of thing. So I can't spend all day on Saturday to play games. And they were, typically when you say stuff like that to your game crowd, they give you crap. They're gonna give you a shit because you're not coming and playing. What they all said was, "Hey man, happy anniversary! You have a good time. Take some pictures with Darth Vader, for me." So they were really cool about that, and I have to say that that is very much so what is really keeping me in the game and keeping me in the community is how good and how nice the players are. I played Shadespire, Warhammer Underworlds for a little bit, and I got out because that community is not the best. Not necessarily Warhammer itself, but just the Shadespire, community online. It wasn't a place that I felt was as nice as this was. And the song players, everybody's really cool, which has been great, and it's really helped me really stick with it and driving me to create all the content. So, how are you guys looking? Let me see.
All right, so I've got this guy's for setting.
Yep.
And cool. I think I might have overpainted it, but
that's okay.
That's okay. And I'm like halfway through this guy.
Okay. The nice thing is that even if you do overpaint a little bit, a lot of times the wash will help with that, and paint in general, when it dries, it tends to shrink a little bit, which is why we try to use nice primer instead of the cheap primer. I will cheap on anything but primer, but the cheap primer, if you get the really cheap stuff and you spray it, when you spray finish it, it'll actually split. It'll come off of the mini, because when you spray finish it with like your matte spray, it seals it and it just makes everything shrink and pulls everything tight. But cheap primer will sometimes just split right down the middle because or crackle because the sealer will actually force it to do something that the sealer is stronger than the prime. That is bad. You essentially have to scrub your mini and strip it and start all over.
So, what would you consider, like, if a primer is like kind of watered down, is that a bad primer for you as well?
No, primer's fine. Brush on primer is good. Brush on primer for me, I use all spray on stuff, which is great if you can get it, and if you have the outdoor capability to go outside. The last thing you want is to be inside an apartment and be like, but. Brush on primer is good, and I like the actually like the Army Painter brush on primer, and I like the Citadel brush on primer is pretty good. The Vallejo, interestingly enough, which I really like their stuff, the Vallejo primer is really cheap. It doesn't have a good grip. It doesn't have a good tooth. Like, you put it on there, and then your paint, you can literally see the paint sliding off of it sometimes, and it's like, I might as well just be painting it directly on the plastic. Why did I even go through the process of doing that? So, but I do encourage, get actual primer for your minis. You can get craft paint, obviously, that's what we're using, on the grays, but actual primer will help. So, okay, so next I'm going to be working on the faces. So I've got Basic Skin Tone by Vallejo, and that is probably my go-to for European-looking people. So being an Asian guy, I am not. I have yet to find a good Asian skin flesh for painting minis. Everything's always either too dark or like pale. They're like, oh yeah, this is Eastern flesh, and I'm like, no, none of my family looks like that.
Right. Let me try to find the right skin tone because I got like this survivor skin.
Oh, that'll be good. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Oh, okay.
That might be a little dark. So you might want to lighten it a little bit with a little bit of water. But survivor skin's good. Yeah, I actually the skin tones and all of that stuff, that is another one that if you can afford to get it for real from the actual miniature paint companies, I say invest in that, because they typically do a better job of getting an actual skin tone than something like the craft paint at Target or something like that. So if you can find it, do it. You can get it on Amazon. The Vallejo pack, I think, is only like $15 for like 5 different colors on Amazon, which is a steal.
Do you cover the eyes as well when you paint?
I sure do. I sure do. I cover the eyes. I cover the everything, the mouth, the nose, like
even the mustache.
Even the mustache. I'll go back in and repaint that later. You've got 2 options, right? You could either take the time to go around all of that stuff, or you could use that time later on when you're putting in the highlights. You know, it's just, when do you want to put the time in? And for me, I know I'm already gonna paint these guys' hair probably a different color, so why am I trying to save the mustache?
Fair enough.
Yeah, certain colors I'd be like, careful, that's hard to cover, you know. But the skin tone, it's easy. And then while that is drying, because I just kind of leave it on there, you'll probably want to do a few layers of it, but you want to make sure that the first layer is down and dried first before you go back in, because it'll smudge and peel and crack. But while that is drying, I'm gonna start working on the belts and stuff.
Don't you do the hands?
I put them all in gloves. You can do you. It's easier that way, Fabio.
Oh damn! And they even are wearing gloves. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you want to if you're up there on the wall? I'd be like, oh damn, it's so cold. It's so cold up here. Fabio, the Lord Commander, is a cheap ass and didn't give me any gloves.
Yeah, I gotta save that money on the minis, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so so at this point, I'm gonna start painting up the while these are drying. I'm gonna start painting up the belts using hull red, which is a dark reddish brown, but any kind of brown that you want. You can see it. It's kind of a dark red brown sort of a tone. But any kind of brown that you want to use will work really well. And I'm actually swapping out my brush. So this is what I've been using. So it's here, I'll go like this. This is what I have been using, and this is what I will be using. So it's a lot thinner, a lot smaller. It's a size 0 versus a size 2 on this one. So just get a small, thin detail brush. It's going to help with painting all of that. How about, that's a question for you.
Like
how
this?
are the brush situation? Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that'll be better. Yeah, that's good. How's the brush situation down there for you guys?
Oh,
Can you
I guess brushes are easier to make, like not necessarily like easier to make, but you can get good brushes because people use different brushes for like different crafts and so on.
Oh yeah.
Whereas acrylic paint is very specific.
Sure.
So that's harder because, like you said, like it's hard to get the right tones and also like the right solutions. Because like paint is just like acrylic pieces, like grounded up. Is that the verb? Yeah.
Ground.
Like
Yeah.
From like grinding.
Yeah.
And so like paint is harder to get, but brushes are pretty easy. You can get good quality brushes, I guess, like anywhere. Airbrushes, not that much.
That's good. Really?
Yeah, they get pretty expensive. That's just the issue. You can get them, but you're gonna pay a price.
Man, that is one thing about being in America that is really, really nice. Is Amazon, man. Amazon treats you real well. You can get just about anything there, in some way, shape, or form.
At a fair price.
At a pretty fair price, yeah. I always try to, I always try to go to my local game shop because, you know, you want to support them, because if you can't support your local store, they're not going to support you in terms of your games that you want to play. You know, our hot plug Hobbytown USA in Fresno, California does great support for Song of Ice and Fire, free monthly tournaments with Hobbytown USA coupons for prize support, you know. So we always try. I always try to get all of my stuff there, but everyone's like, "Dang, I know I'm not going to have the time to run over there after work before I have to come home and make my kid some food." You know, it's going to be more like, can I just go to the? Do I even have time to go to the mailbox? Sometimes not. Sometimes I don't. You know, sometimes it's just hard for me to even just go to that mailbox and pick up the mail. So every now and then, I gotta break down and do the do the Amazon, even though I prefer going to the store, brick and mortar. Do you guys have a similar issue in Brazil where online is really killing your retail?
Like the thing is, like retail here for most miniature related stuff is really scarce. Okay. So we even had that issue. Like online is saving our ass, right? Thank God we get more from the US, right?
Oh wow, okay.
But there are a few retailers, and we do try to buy from them, but they don't have the infrastructure to keep like tournaments running and so on.
Sure. That's got to be hard, because that is your industry, you know. So for you to live in a country that really doesn't support your industry, that's got to be hard.
Yeah, so like I grew up abroad, and
okay.
Yeah, I lived like 6 years of my life in the Netherlands, in Holland, right?
Oh, cool, okay.
And so that's where I started hobbying. So like when I fell here, I was like, okay, let's find the survivors. Like, who is here in this place with no war games? And and luckily enough, I'm in São Paulo, which is like, I'm not sure, but maybe the 5th largest city in the world or something like that, or in the top 10 at least.
Oh, okay.
So like, there's got to be someone, right? And I actually found like a wargaming club, and where they have like a place where you can like pay to like get a set of keys, and you can go there and play, and we like make our own terrains and scenarios like together, so it's much faster, and we can keep miniatures there. So it's like a support group almost.
That's funny. Yeah, I was gonna say, I know that Brazil is a huge country. I would imagine that it would be similar. I would have thought that it would be similar to America, but I guess not.
It's the thing is like there are other things here that are probably cheaper. I guess like food. You can probably, even though in the U.S. food is very cheap, right? But
Sure. Yeah.
you can get really high quality food here at a good price, and the cost of living is much cheaper as well. But like these luxury items, because I'd consider like miniatures a luxury item, are more expensive because
I said it's a utility for me. It just goes into my monthly bill.
yeah, like
No.
I have a monthly budget as well, I
Yeah.
guess. But these, but like miniatures, we don't have an industry, right? We need to import, and that makes things expensive.
Yeah, yeah. So this stuff, all of the belt stuff, all of the leathers, as I like to call it, this is going to be what's going to take a long time for most people, and this is what's going to be frustrating for a lot of people, because this part, there's no easy way around it. It just requires practice and brush control, and not everybody can do that, because because a lot of these are miniatures and they're small, fine details. But the nice thing that I always like to say is I like to look at it like, think of it like a coloring book. Stay within the lines. We all know how to stay within the lines from when we were like little kids. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you stay within the lines, you're probably going to be just fine.
Do you do the boots and the sheath of the sword?
So I don't do the boots. I do the handle of the sword. So you can kind of see here, maybe I do the handle of the sword, and then I do the leather wrap on the sheath of the sword, just to make it pop, make it look a little different than it all looking exactly the same. You don't even, and to be fair, you don't actually even need to do that if you don't want to. If you want them to be in full black, you've pretty much got your painted mini if you want to do that. But I like to break it up a little bit just so that it keeps the mini looking interesting.
I guess that's one of the strongest selling points for Night's Watch. There are like very few minis, and
Yep.
you just need to paint them black, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, realistically, all of this stuff that I'm doing with you could just dry brush, do the fur, do the metal, and then call it a day, right? Because what you have with the dry brush that we've done is a pretty well highlighted mini. You could call it a day right then and there. You don't even really need to shade it or highlight it any further, but that's what we'll hopefully do. So.
But they do have some like straps here and there that like if you take a second look, you'll sort of find them.
Yes. All those like there will be like the worst is the guy. I shouldn't say the worst, but there's the one guy that's holding his sword above his head. He's got like the 4 straps across his chest like this.
Yeah.
And they all have metal studs in them too. So it's like, okay, so now I'm gonna have to go back in and do those metal studs too. But it's all for the best.
How do you do those? Just a lot of patience?
Practice and patience, that's, and I'll be honest, I am not the most patient guy when it comes to painting minis, hence my methods, why a lot of people Okay, so the song community has been great, and is traditionally very supportive of everything that I do, which is awesome. But every now and then I'll get somebody who comes from like a Warhammer 40K background, or I've been painting minis for my whole life sort of a thing, and you shouldn't use those kinds of paints, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, says who? You know? Says who? Like, these all turned out fine. But, you know, I spend way less time on my minis than they do. I mean, look at this. We're pretty much we're over halfway done with these guys. And it's been, what? According to the recording, maybe about 40 minutes. You know? And we've got some guys that, in theory, could go on the table right about now. So, and we've been talking a lot. So, and then once you're done with that, if you want, you can go over the skin again, which I will probably be doing, just so that I can make sure that it's that we cover over all of the black, so that the black of like the nose, you know, sometimes the nose and the cheekbones kind of stick through. So I'm just gonna want to make sure that
the same thing.
Yeah, just the exact same thing. Just straight over it. Just to add a second layer of it to keep it. But once we're done with,
what do you do when, like, you get like some of it, like his forehead hair or something like that? You just ignore it because you're gonna go back to it later.
Exactly. Everything can get painted over. That's the nice thing about paint. So, is that it can all just get painted over. But, oh yeah, this guy, I forgot this guy has like straps around his back too. And then the next thing I always do is, from there, I do the metals. So I use plate mail metal by the Army Painter, which is kind of a silver gray. You know, it's almost a gunmetal. It's a little light. It's darker than silver, not quite as dark as like gunmetal. But I like it. I got this bottle, I kid you not, a year and a half ago. And I've still got stuff in there. So I really commend the Army Painter on this one product. It is awesome, and I cannot sing its praises high enough. And that we won't even thin. We'll just do it straight, and we're just gonna paint all of the weapons, all of the metal.
So I've heard that you shouldn't thin metallic paints, or is that just superstition?
So you can, but there are issues when you do thin metallic paints that, if you're starting off, is going to throw you in for a fit, you know, because it essentially, what happens is all of the little mica, that's the shiny bits in the paint, everything, it's going to start to separate, and it's going to like clump together. So you're going to get really inconsistent metallics that way. But you can thin it with metallic medium, but that is a little bit more on the expensive side, because that in and of itself is about as much as a bottle of paint. So it's going to be about $3 for a teeny tiny little bottle of medium, versus what I typically thin my paints with is free out of the faucet, called water. You know, so it's like, but you know, you can see the plate mail, it goes on really smooth. I think it reminds me a lot of some airbrush formulas that I've seen. So I think it was originally designed as an airbrush paint, but for using it for metal, it's just awesome. And then all of the scabbards, the sheaths, they all have like that metallic, the metal portion at the tops and the bottoms of the scabbards. Again, I'm using the my detail brush, my teeny tiny detail brush, so that we can do like the belt buckles and all that stuff.
Do you do the chainmail, or are you going to dry brush that?
No, do the chainmail. Do the chainmail. Make it easy on yourself. I'm all about making it easy on yourself. This would be the time in editing when I go back in and edit this part out as we're focused on the tiny details of painting these little buckles and everything.
Honestly, I was so concentrated, I totally forgot we were even recording. I'm just like, damn, let me get this straight.
I know this is the tricky part, and it's hard because you honestly what you want to just be like, okay, I can't mess this up. I spent all this time on all of these minis, and if I mess this up, I'm gonna have to go back in over it. And yes, you would have to do that, but at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. But still, it can be really frustrating. I've had situations where I've been at the very end, essentially at the highlight phase, which is literally the last thing that I ever do is highlight, and then I mess up. I draw a highlight, a skin, and it goes into their hair, and I'm like, ugh! Now I have to repaint that, rewash that, and there's nothing more disheartening than that. But if you're watching at home, it even happens to me, guys. It happens to everyone. So don't kill yourself about it.
The only difference is that you edit it out, right?
Exactly. I don't mention it. Sometimes I do mention it actually on my blogs. I'll say, don't be like me. I did this. I try to be as transparent as possible on those things, I feel like, I don't know, what's there to hide? What's there to, I mean, I'm trying to make it as entertaining as possible, sure, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I messed up on this part. This part was hard for me. I'll tell you right now, the hardest thing that I have to do whenever I paint, hardest unit, Lannister guards, hands down, because screw all of that gold. All of that gold lining everywhere, that lion. Gold just doesn't go on very well in general. It's hard. It doesn't cover very well. So if you've gotten like how we did, like we painted over the mustaches, right? If we had painted over something that was supposed to be gold originally, it's gonna still show up as like red underneath the gold. Gold just doesn't cover up as well as I'd like it. So it's a pain. And those Lannister guards it's full gold, nothing but gold. Hate those guys. They look great. Good job, but I hate those guys.
And which mini do you think is like a challenge, but you enjoy doing?
Oh, that would probably be the Builder Scorpion. It's not really a mini; it's like a maxi, right? Um, but that thing was awesome. I loved that one. I liked the giant because there's so much detail on those Savage Giants. I thought those guys were awesome. I really enjoyed that. And I just did Tywin. I actually just released my tutorial for Tywin, and he was a lot of fun. He was difficult, but he was more like a problem I needed to solve. His was like, here's a puzzle. How am I going to make this really a complicated figure? Because he's got the gold trim on his armor and then the red lacquered armor plates underneath. How am I going to make that easy for somebody to do that doesn't have great brush control? And I went through. I actually had to do 2 models of Tywin before I figured out, oh, this is what we're going to do, and it's going to work. Normally when I'm painting, I'm kind of like, okay, let me do 1 or 2 models, and usually the first one, especially with the heroes, I usually get it right on the first try. If not, I'll repaint it, and I'll repaint like a section. But like with Tywin, I full on had to like do a whole second one because I'm like, just the method that I used on this is not right, you know.
Yeah.
Because originally I started with the red, and then I said let's highlight, let's do the gold trim afterwards, and that was exactly the opposite of what you should do. You should paint the whole thing gold and then go in and paint over with your red. And I did that, and I was like, oh my gosh, so much easier, so much easier. Like night and day.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. So how we doing, Fabio? Here's roughly where I'm at. Okay.
All right.
How we doing over there?
Your clone, the clone of that one.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
So this is my guy. The light is here. Wait,
okay.
Let me try to get like a flashlight or something.
Get a flashlight. Okay. Ah, there we go.
Oh, shucks.
It's okay.
So this is my guy.
Yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah, and I was thinking about like painting the inside of the scabbard, like between the leather, and then I just remember what you said, like, let's not make my life hard, right? So I just
yeah, because I mean that looks fine. You can see, you know, even here, you know, we've got that. You can see the brown and the black, and there's a contrast there, and that's really what it's all about, is making sure that you've got black next to dark, next to some mediums, different colors. So, well, cool, Fabio. You are losing sunlight, so I'm going to let you go. But I think this was a lot of fun, and we're going to have to do this again, sir.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was really fun. Actually exceeded expectations.
Good. I'm glad that you liked it, and if you guys are watching at home, hopefully we'll have some more of this sort of a thing. Let me know. If you really like it, you can log in and become a patron for me. Helps me create cool content like me doing live paints with Fabio, maybe some other guests, all of my blog. If you want to check out my blog, I'm going to put a link in the description for my blog in here, where you'll find all of my tutorials, and you can paint along with me and Fabio next time. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
All right. See you later.
See you. All right. Thank you, sir.